Hi there. My name is Kimberly Inez Mays, and I have a question for you. Are you sick of AI? If so, this is not the video to watch because I'm going to be talking about AI. I'm just kidding. But I do have a question for you. Are you automating with AI? It's one thing to just prompt go, prompt, copy, paste, just the one off prompting or whatever it is that you're doing with your AI tools. But it's another thing to use them in sequence to automate repetitive tasks. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, okay? But for those who don't know me, or for those who forgot about me, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Kimberly Inez Mays. I help small and I'm sorry, I just made a stupid joke, but okay, let me start over. My name is Kimberly Inez Mays, and for those who don't know me, I demystify technology for service-based businesses so they can finally stop duct taping their systems together and start automating with AI and marketing automation. So let's talk about the 5 automation moves that you need to make with AI. It's not enough to open up ChatGPT and just do a prompt and say, "Yay, I'm using AI now." Yes, technically you are, but you could be doing so much more with it. And I'm just going to break it down into simple and easy to use steps, things that you can do right now to start using automation and saving some time on your business. All right. So, number one is automating your onboarding, scheduling, and fulfillment. These are the little tasks that are time sucks, right? These are operational things. These are things that you may not want to do in your business, in your organization, or even in your personal life. For example, when you get a new client, there's so much to do. You have to manually follow up with them. Sometimes for invoices, payments, if you have forms, if there are things that they need to do in order to get started. I remember as a web designer, there were things that I needed to do. I needed to collect assets. I needed to collect images, pictures, copy. Sometimes there would be a need for a domain if they needed a domain. There was just so much. It was a long checklist of items, and we're all busy. People forget. People forget things. Scheduling is another thing. Scheduling is one of those things that, yes, we all do it. We all have Calendly or some flavor or variation of it, but you can also use AI with that. And then fulfillment. Fulfillment is actually delivering the product or service that people have actually paid for. And sometimes, even though that's why you're in business, it could just take so long to fulfill on a service. For example, and I'm going to give a couple examples and I'm going to go off script a little bit. If you are a coach, right? Let's say you have a coaching program, you have coaching clients, you have a coaching session. Well, sometimes you need to synthesize your notes, next steps, action items, things like that. And that takes a long time. It takes a long time to follow up and see if people are doing the work that they said they would be doing. If you have multiple clients or multiple people that you're dealing with, sometimes it can be a little messy to see where everyone is at. If you are delivering another type of service, maybe you need a project management system, and maybe your project management system needs to be a little bit smarter than just a task list, right? Because maybe you might have one client who is stuck. Maybe there's another client that you're waiting on deliverables for. Maybe there's another client that, for whatever reason, haven't paid their invoice. So these are all things that you can automate so that you can free up some of your time and energy to do things that are more scalable. So, what are some of the things that you can do for onboarding, scheduling, and fulfillment, right? Number one is AI chatbots. Now, if you've heard me speak, you know that I am a little bit iffy on chatbots for some purposes, but these are chatbots that are great for these purposes, right? Because if people know that they're talking to a chatbot, they're fine with it. It's only when you're trying to pass it off as a human being where it's a little gray area. But chatbots can pre-qualify your leads before scheduling. So, for example, even I still have the old school form. I'm moving towards the chatbot lead generator. And this is really a more organic way of collecting information. A lot of people don't like filling out forms. It feels very rigid. And now you can use a large language model and AI to synthesize the answers and structure it in a way that makes sense. And if you're looking at me right now, I got the cat. Obviously, he is always with me. So that's Kenzo. So you can do this in mini chat, high level, AI bots. There's so many bots that you can use. Be sure to tie it back to your CRM, your customer relationship management system, so that you can keep track of where everyone is. But it can be more scalable than just using a standalone form. There's also AI voice assistants. So these are assistants that work like chatbots, but instead of just reading, you can actually hear and have conversations with these things. Again, I stress that just be transparent in your usage of them. So if you're going to use a chatbot or a voice assistant, just let people know that it's a bot. I don't think people mind talking to a bot if they know it's a bot, but they can handle confirmations, rescheduling. You can even have it remind people to, pay their invoice. You can have it remind people to deliver their assets. You can have it even scan the asset or scan the copy or whatever it is that they owe to you to see if it's completed. And if not, maybe you can have a bot that works with them to complete the assignment as needed. That can eliminate a lot of the back and forth. And then AI summaries, right? So if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you do knowledge based consulting work and you have lots of meetings, lots of interviews, and things like that, there are note takers out there. There are many note takers. I think Fathom is a popular one. There's so many other ones that you can attach to your Zoom, Teams, or Google Meet meetings. And what it'll do is it'll take notes for you and it'll provide a transcript, action items, and summaries. And if you want to go one step further, you can take their transcript and then format that into a way that serves your business. So you don't always have to take what the AI tool gives you. You can just use the transcript and use your own tool to synthesize that information. For example, maybe you want to put it in a checklist that a way somebody can understand what the next steps are, what was discussed, and what the needs are. And you could do so many cool things with that. But that's just number one. Number two is automated reporting, dashboards, and KPI alerts. Now, for my data nerds out there, this one's for you. But if you're not a data nerd, it's okay. I got you. You can still make sense of this. So have you ever looked at any sort of analytics, whether it's your YouTube page, your Facebook page, your website, any sort of system that you use has analytics. But however, it could be gobbledygook. Sometimes you can't really make sense of it. And even if you can make sense of it, it's hard to know what your next steps should be. And so using a large language model, using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever it is that you want, or if you want to just use a Zapier type thing, if you want to use that, if you use a large language model, if you use any sort of AI system, you can literally take your analytics, put it into that system, say, okay, well, what does this really mean? How many people are really clicking through to wherever you want them to go? What is my conversion rate looking like? What is the source people are coming from? What are the first things people are doing when they come to my page? How fast are they abandoning my videos? What should I do next? Based on this, what trends do you see? So these are questions that you can ask AI to do for you so that you can have plain English insights that aren't so abstract and high level, but are practical, right? But you can only do this if you know what to ask and what to look for. And you can only do this once you have a plan to use it. But every system that you have pretty much has an AI component of it, or I'm sorry, an analytics component of it. So definitely take advantage. You can connect your CRM and data sources to a few things. I like Looker Studio personally for Google Analytics because sometimes the native Google Analytics platform is is not that user friendly, but I like to use Looker Studio to make my own dashboards, and you can integrate that with an AI tool. There's Airtable, which Airtable is near and dear to my heart. I did a whole video on Airtable, so if you want to check that out, that is available as well. So you can definitely connect it to a lot of databases for sure. You can, like I said before, use AI to generate English insights for you. You can look at your conversion rates, next steps, action items, lessons learned. You can have it write this stuff up for you. You can have it make charts, make bar graphs, time sequences, things like that. You can say conversions drop 5% because ... you know, just think of how you would want a person to respond to you, how you would want an employee to respond to you if you said, okay, read the data and tell me what is in it. You can also use AI to forecast as well. So to predict pipeline or revenue trends, like I said. So it's not only good for looking back, but it's also good for looking forward. So that's number 2. All right. Hopefully you're still with me. I know I covered a lot. I'm speaking really, really, really fast, and I got 3 more to go. So hang on. I will get through this. We will get through this together, but this is really great information. So number 3, SOP, reminders, task handoffs, and reducing friction. So this is all about the project management, team management side of things. And creating documentation is such a pain in the butt, right? I worked at several companies in my past life. And documentation was like everything. Like if you were missing one little paragraph of documentation, they would say, "Oh, why isn't it in the documentation?" Right? So you'd spend just as much time documenting things as implementing it. And it was just really that important because if you're on a team with high turnover, if you're on a team that maybe you switch accounts a lot, if you're on a team that handles a lot of complex tasks, if you're using processes that have a high degree of margin for error, you really need to have these standard operating procedures, these functional specifications documents, technical specifications documents. Ooh, my tongue is getting tied. But things like that need to be standardized, number one, because all of the information needs to look the same from process to process so people know where to go. But also, it needs to be thorough and complete. And if you're implementing stuff, nobody's got time to just sit down with Word like we used to, right? So that's where AI and systems come in handy for sure. So there are things that you can use. Notion is very, very popular. And then I'm seeing in my notes Trainual, which I will probably look it up because I've never heard of it, but it sounds intriguing. So you can actually put your documentation inside one of these repositories. I actually like Google LM a lot for this too. You can put your documentation there. You can talk. You can say, hey, well, how do we do X, Y, and Z? Give me the guide to do, whatever. And because it's a closed environment, it's not going to go to the internet to make some stuff up. It's going to say, yeah, based on the documentation that you fed me, here is how to do X, Y, and Z. So not only can you use AI to create the documentation, you can use AI to talk to your documents as well. So it really can expand requests into auto checklists in Asana, Trello, or ClickUp. I will say that I prefer Airtable to all of the ones that I have just mentioned. Sorry, but you can make project plans from documentation. You can use AI to create robust project plans from things that you're trying to implement. It can give you dates, um, dependencies. That's the word I was looking for. Dependencies. It can give you the assigned, who the task assigned to, holidays, working hours, and so much more. So these are things that people don't really think about. Just because you can open ChatGPT and prompt it doesn't mean that you're using it to its fullest extent. So if you have a team, definitely look into ways to structure information to become actionable. Meeting notes, like I said before, Fathom, Fireflies, Grain, those are some other things. You can auto push tasks into your PM tools. And then you can use it so that was number 3, right? So I'm just looking at my notes because number 4 and 5 are very, very similar. So creating playbooks and case studies. I think for this one, it is really just about client engagement for number 4. It's just to enhance client engagement. So let's say you're getting a lot of emails every single day, you're getting a lot of notes, messages. You can use AI to synthesize what people are saying to you, saying about you, and to take action on them. So you can use it to rewrite long messages into task tickets, because sometimes people will jump around in their thoughts as they write to you, as they speak to you. But then you can use AI to kind of synthesize and say, hey, what is the actual specific request that is being made? So it can stand for tone, it can stand for urgency, it can literally take the tone and the urgency and the due date by which that thing is due, and then to put that automatically into your CRM or to your project management or task management system. So that's really number 4. So number 5 is the biggie, because you're like, okay, well, you mentioned project management systems, you mentioned your CRM, emails, large language models, and I probably mentioned scheduling and so many other things. So how do you integrate all of this stuff together? So number 5 is really about the integration piece of it. And this is what I am teaching in my Automated Thought Leader Academy, which is really to help look at your processes not in silos, but as one holistic ecosystem, by which you run your business, collect your leads, fulfill on your services, and ultimately get repeat business, right? But how do you bring all these tools together in a way that makes sense? And I know a lot of people know Zapier, and I like Zapier too, don't get me wrong. I also do think that it can be quite expensive, and also there are other alternatives, right? So you got to just pick what works for you. Zapier has some great features, but there are also many others. There's one called Make. It used to be called Integramat. So it has complex branching, real-time API calls. An API call, don't be alarmed when I use some acronyms. It just means application processing interface, meaning that it can make data talk to each other. So can Zapier, right? It makes data talk to each other intelligently. So for some of the examples that I've given, right? Say you get an email from your client, your large language model can scan, or say you get an email from the client. Let me roll it back. You get an email from your client. That creates a trigger to Zapier or Integramat or Make or NHN or some of the other ones. It creates a trigger, and then you have a step that says, hey, OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, whatever, read this email, and from this email, pull out the request, due date, and urgency. And I want you to document in the next step who it came from, what they're asking for, when they need it by, and the urgency. And so now we've connected 3 things: the email, the scanning, and now the putting it into a project management system, so that that information can be stored and synthesized and, most importantly, acted upon. So that is how these tools work. Sometimes it is linear, like Zapier is pretty much linear, but you can also have branching. So if something is urgent, maybe it doesn't go to your project management system. Maybe it sends you a text message, right? Because you can't wait until it goes to your project management system. Maybe if urgent, send a text message. If not urgent, then put it in project management system. So these are some of the examples that you can use. I find that Make and Zapier are pretty much kind of the same vibe. NHN is more complex. It's a little bit more advanced. So if you haven't yet used some of these connector tools, I would say start with Zapier, start with Make. I believe they both are free to use with some limitations. Pably Connect is also another great one that I have used. And it's a little bit cheaper than Zapier. There's also one, and I'm reading from just a list too, to keep myself honest. There's Pipe Dream. It's a developer-friendly automation with direct AI integration. So again, that might be one you want to try out. There's also High Level CRM. That's the name of the CRM. It's called High Level. It also has workflows baked into it, as well as AI agents if you want to keep everything all in one platform. Now, I will say before I go that no matter how you decide to automate, you need a plan. You need someone to help you decide what do you do first, because there's so many things that you could be doing, but you don't need to be doing them all at once. So what do you really do, right? So give some examples, and this is something that I talked about. Something that I talked about pretty recently, right? Go the low tech route. Close your laptop, take out a notebook, draw a box, draw an arrow, draw another box, draw an arrow, draw another box. The boxes are processes. So you say, if this happens, then this happens. If when this happens, then this happens. So it's a series of inputs and outputs. And you can do this on a piece of paper. You can do this on your iPad. You can do this on a flow charting software that you have. I say pen and paper because it engages that part of your brain that's not distracted by screens. And really, you just write it out. Write out what you want to accomplish. And then once you have that plain and beautiful plan right in front of you, I want you to go into the tools that you feel comfortable using and do that plan and that plan only until it is completed, because you will get distracted. You will get turned around trying to find the perfect system that will do millions of things um, at once, but you only needed to do what it is that you've previously identified as a priority for you, your business, and your company, your team, your organization, whatever have you. And you need to know and be discerning when to act upon something and when to leave the rest alone. All right. So that's all I got to say about that. But before I wrap up, before I finish, I do want to tell you that a lot of the information that I provided is explained in detail in the Automated Thought Leader Academy. So this is my academy, my repository, my love letter to the tech community and to the business community in general, where I talk about and I teach all of these things from beginner to expert. And I have 3 levels, right? Because we all got to start somewhere and we all got to finish somewhere. And truth be told, I am definitely not finished. There's so much to learn, so much to explore, so much to do. And so that is why I put together the academy. It is a wealth of knowledge, but it's also very practical, very actionable, because I don't believe that learning for the sake of learning is enough. You need to learn what you need to learn when you need to learn it so that you can implement it, because knowledge will be there, instructions will be there, right? But you need it presented in a way that you can say, okay, this week I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and that is it. So if you're anything like me, you don't have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of attention to time to pay attention to literally everything. So I invite you to check out the Automated Thought Leader Academy. And I have a freebie for you. Don't leave yet. I do have the AI and Systems Scorecard. So that is free. That is free. And you can go ahead and take that to see where you fit in when it comes to automation, right? So if you want to take the scorecard, I will leave the link. And if you're interested in the academy and you just want to chat about it, I invite you to book a free 30-minute automation insight session with me, where we go over what's working, what's not working, what you've tried before, and where you want to go next. All right. So I am done. Finally done. So that's all I got to say about that for the second time. And I hope you are having a great day wherever you are. And I will talk to you later. Bye.